What is going on, everybody? My name is Jacob. I have been a diehard Pistons fan since 2003, and I'm eager to see this team getting back to playing winning basketball. In today's video, we are going to talk about why I am higher on Cade than almost anybody. I still believe his upside is the absolute ceiling of the NBA, true superstar, and I want to talk about that today. Towards the end of the video, we're going to discuss some of the common narratives that you'll see online from some of his biggest critics and haters, and just go over why they're totally not true and just not based in any sort of fact or stat. But before we get on to it, please subscribe. We are working on a goal of 1,000 subscribers, and I would like to hit that as soon as possible. So to kick things off, let's talk about Cade's stats this past season. Cade put up 23 points per game, 4 rebounds, 8 assists on 45% shooting, and 35% from the three in what was his third season in the NBA. Now, realistically, Cade didn't have much of a second season here in the NBA. He only played 12 games in his second season. So you could say that it's pretty much his second year in the league. Games wise, that was pretty much how it adds up. He has played about 2 seasons worth of games in the NBA now. But nevertheless, technically, it was his third season. So when we look at some of the biggest superstars in the league, how are they doing in their third season? Let's talk about Jason Tatum, the dude who was just the guy who didn't win Finals MVP, but was the best player on a championship team. In his third season, he averaged 23 points per game on 45% shooting from the floor, just like Cade just did. Anthony Edwards, dude who took over in the playoffs, new face of the league. How did he do in his third season? 24 points per game on 45% from the field. When it comes to scoring, Cade Cunningham is on par with a lot of guys who are first team All-NBA, second team All-NBA, and he's even putting up better playmaking stats with the assist numbers than almost all of them. Cade is truly on track to be an All-NBA caliber player from a numbers perspective, and it's not even close. Now, of course, these numbers didn't exactly translate into a ton of wins this past season, but I would argue so much of the loss column was out of his hands. Not only at the start of the season were the lineups that put around him just obviously not beneficial to his game, towards the back half of the season, there were a ton of games where Cade had a positive plus minus, but the Pistons still lost the game. Now, what does that mean? That means that when the Pistons had Cade on the floor, they outscored the other team, but when he was off of the floor, we did not. Cade has great leadership qualities, but he can't help that Monty was subbing in an all bench lineup and then costing them the lead, which would then cost them the game. You can go back and look at the post All-Star game or All-Star break and look at the plus minuses and the losses next to them. There were plenty of games where we were plus 10 with Cade on the floor, minus 20 with him off the floor. Guess what? That's a 10-point loss for us. Cade can't help the team from the bench. So realistically, I think a lot of the losses last season were totally out of his hands. A lot of them were on Monty playing the all bench lineup and costing us games like that. I think that all it's going to take is the Pistons to even have a small uptick in wins. Hypothetically, we win 30 games this season. Cade's almost certainly an all-star, even with that type of record, and people start to realize what this dude's potential truly is. Now, I think a lot of people who don't watch Pistons games regularly, us Pistons fans, we know this, but those stats are even more oppressive than they sound because of the team that was around him and the way that other teams would sell out to try and stop him. Now, if we look here, there is a ton of just still frames that show us everything we need to know. They say pictures are worth 1,000 words. These definitely are, because you can tell these other teams are just absolutely selling out to stop Cade Cunningham. When Cade gets into the paint, he's got 4 defenders, 3 defenders, all right on top of him. That's great. That is a huge advantage. When you're looking at guys like Luka, some of the best players in the league, one of their best traits is the ability to draw in the defense, bring in double teams, which creates open opportunities for their teammates. Cade Cunningham has the ability to find those teammates. He just hasn't had the shooting and talent around him to make the other team pay for selling out to try and stop him. Once Cade has better teammates, better shooters, I think that teams will either have to make a choice of stop sending three bodies at him or live with open threes, and his efficiency, his overall numbers will go up, and we will win more games because of it. And I think that's going to come as soon as this year. With Fontecchio out there, I think that helps big time. With Tobias out there, I think that'll help as well. The numbers don't lie. With Fontecchio on the floor last year, even the Pistons were a way better team. And as much as I like Fontecchio, it's not because Fontecchio was able to take dudes off the bounce and just go to work by himself and win us games alone. No, it was because it created more space for Cade to operate and made teams pay for selling out to try and stop Cade. Now, some of the biggest things that people knock Cade for and say that it limits him or big problems, this and that, number one is injuries. So if you look at his game logs, he played 60 games his rookie year, 12 games his sophomore year, and 62 games last year. 62 games last year doesn't sound encouraging on paper, but what you need to realize is the Pistons shut him down with 7, 8 games left in the season just to flat out tank. Like, if Pistons were in a position where they were fighting for a play-in spot or something like that, Cade would have been out there for those last 7 or 8 games, and he would have had his game total last year around 70, which truthfully is about all you can ask for in the modern NBA. Cade's injury that he had was shin splints that went untreated to turn into stress fractures, which he did have to have a surgery to repair. That's not anything too crazy. We're not talking about a dude who's missing meniscus or a dude who tore his Achilles or even his ACL. The injury that he had projects to be one that comes all the way back to full health. And from my very, very not good medical understanding, the injury that he did have did take a long time to heal from, and he probably wasn't 100% up until towards the end of this past season. I think Cade's going to be just fine with the injuries. Outside of that, he's been relatively durable. I mean, if a dude's playing 65 games in the modern NBA, you just kind of have to live with it. If that's where he ends up as a player, that's fine. That doesn't limit other superstars. Another thing that people love to knock Cade for was his field goal percentage and his turnovers. The thing is those just ticked up this year. The turnovers were bad at the start of the year. They went down. His field goal percentage is up to about league average. So people don't really bring that up anymore like they did when he was a rookie. Rookies, especially rookie guards that are handed the keys of an offense, they just historically turn the ball over a lot and are not efficient. You'll hardly find anybody where that isn't true. Go look at Darius Garland's efficiency his rookie year. It was terrible. And it's obviously not a problem now. So, yeah, I'm not worried at all about that stuff. And the people who used to bring up the whole field goal percentage turnover thing were just ignoring the fact that he was young on a bad team. And they really don't bring that up anymore. And now they just move the goalposts and say stuff like, Cade's not that guy, or he's the problem. Just stuff that has no base in fact. Just talking to talk, really. Just talking to hate. So overall, I'm not worried about those things. If there's two things that I will say I'd like to see Cade improve on, it would be the turnovers still. They did get better as the year went on, but some of the turnovers he did have last year were just frustrating. Just like passes you shouldn't make, things like that. A lot of that probably was due to the situation he was in. Frustration. I mean, let's be honest. How many guys are composed for 82 games a season when they're on pace to win 14? Not that many. It's hard to keep locked in when you're in that position. So it's not that big of a deal to me. I think it'll get better. And then also, the defense can be better as well. A lot of times, I think Cade's worst defensive moments come when he's in foul trouble or scared of being in foul trouble. So if Cade can just cut back on the ticky-tack fouls, the unnecessary fouls earlier in games, I think that'll allow him to play more aggressively on defense later in games. And I think that's really the main problems right now. But realistically, there's a very short list of players who in year 3 didn't have a couple issues. He has a couple things to work on. Once he gets those sorted out, better team around him, this dude's going to be average 28 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists a night, making all NBA teams. You have my word for it. You can come back and troll me all you want in 5 years if I'm wrong, but I think I'm right. I'll catch y'all later.